found out. My husband was cheating with my sister, divorced him, and went no contact with my toxic family. Years later, things took a turn. I lost 9 years of my life to the man I loved and the sister I grew up with. But the ending to this story, it's a dish served absolutely ice cold. For background, my sister Star was always the family's golden child. Growing up, she got brand new cars and expensive dance camps, while I was grounded for a month for being 15 minutes late to curfew. So, when her life in Florida fell apart and she moved back to our hometown destitute, I wasn't thrilled, but I tried to be supportive. I even asked my husband, Ryan, a manager at his company, to help her get a job in his department. That was my first mistake. Soon, Ryan and Star were thick as thieves. They had inside jokes, worked late together, and brushed me off whenever I tried to join the conversation. The breaking point, I came home from work and noticed the pillowcases on our freshly made bed were turned the wrong way. When I finally confronted Ryan point blank, he teared up and confessed. They had just clicked. I packed a bag with nothing but my purse, drove away, and filed for divorce. Star was completely shameless. Days after the fallout, she tagged me in a Facebook photo of Ryan kissing her cheek with the caption, "Feeling loved." When I went to my parents for support, my mother's response was a knife to the gut. "It shouldn't have happened this way, but your sister deserves to be happy too." I realized I didn't just lose a husband. I never really had a family. I went strict no contact, sold my half of our assets, and moved to Minnesota without telling a single soul where I went. Fast forward a few years, and my life had completely transformed. Through intense therapy, I healed. I met an incredible man named James, a chef who co-owned a thriving restaurant. We built a beautiful life together, got married, and had 2 wonderful kids. I finally had the warm, fiercely protective family I always deserved. Meanwhile, karma was busy working overtime. Ryan actually tracked me down at James's restaurant to grovel for closure. As it turned out, Star had been cheating on him with multiple married men. I laughed in his face, denied him his closure, and watched my future in-laws and the restaurant staff practically chase him out the door. I thought that was the end of it. But the universe had one last test. Years went by before the messages started flooding in from fake accounts. Eventually, I agreed to a Zoom call with my estranged parents and sister just to see what the desperation was about. Star looked terrible. The truth finally came out. Her kidneys were failing. She had maybe 6 months to live without a transplant, and as her biological sister, I was her best chance at a viable match. My parents pleaded, claiming they were drowning in medical bills and begging me to put the past behind us to save her life. I told them I needed to think about it. I quietly got my lab work done in Minnesota. A week later, the results came back. I was a perfect match. I flew back to Missouri on my own. By the time I arrived, Star had been admitted to the hospital. I walked into her room, where my parents and her doctors were waiting. The doctors were ecstatic. They explained the transplant process, emphasizing what a miracle it was that I was a flawless match. They stressed that the likelihood of finding a better donor was minuscule, and that we needed to schedule the surgery immediately. I walked over to the hospital bed and gently took Star's hand. I looked right into her big brown eyes. "Did you hear that?" I asked her, my voice dead calm. "I am a perfect match. I am the only person who can save you, and I'm not going to." The room went dead silent. "You are the most vile, narcissistic person I have ever known," I told her. "I only flew here so you would know that the one person who could keep you alive is the exact person you wronged the most. You are paying for that with your life. Make your peace with it." Star burst into hysterical tears. My parents started screaming at me, while the doctors and nurses stood frozen in pure shock. I turned to my parents one last time. "Don't you dare ever ask me for anything again. The only money I'll ever spend on you is for your funeral, and that's only if you're cremated, so I can dump your ashes in the dirtiest public toilet I can find." I turned my back, walked out of that hospital room, and never looked back. I caught a flight back to Minnesota, back to my real home and my real family, and I have never been happier.